Sure, coming.
We're done. Aish is the best. Yeah. Yeah, I see that.
Okay, let's learn. I want to thank, of course, the Rahmani family, Rabbi, sponsoring the Shiur, Avinoam, לעילוי נשמת, Avinoam, Darchei, Mr. Shamli, and the whole family of Simcha, Nachas, and Bracha. And also, she is being sponsored, לעילוי נשמת, Rabbi Gdalya, and Rabbi Shimon, Shamli. Okay, so last week I gave you some pages. I hope you have them. If you don't have them with you, it's on the phone also. That we began to learn a mimer. From this newest sefer from the author of the Rabbi Mishkan Evner, from Rav Schwartz, called Shiur HaNun. I said last week that before we spend a little time on some more practical things, that I wanted that to at least to learn this mimer, to have a better understanding of what it is that in Pnimius. I mean, we all understand, but in Pnimius, in Torah, better understanding of what it is that they were up against, that has never been in not only in our lifetimes, but in all of history. There's never been such a time as we're holding Erev Mashiach, and there's this Zelu Mazeh between in the world of Shiur HaNun in the 50th day. Nun Sharei Kedusha, Nun Chamishim Sharei Tumah, and what is it that's different about living in this time of the Shiur HaNun? What's different? Because when we understand what's different about it, then we could also have a strategy of how to fight with the koiches of the Nun Sharei Kedusha, how to fight against it. So we were talking about last week. We began the mimer, now on page Shin Ayin. We're in the middle of the paragraph on page Shin Ayin, the paragraph of Sharash Kar Hara, Shemas Gala B'Peh. And we were learning how Gmiri De'ein Yetzahar Shoylet El B'Masha Ein of Roaz, that which is called the Yetzahara, which is not reaching into the pnimius of who a person is. It's more of the external drive and temptation of a person is the Yetzer Hara. And that Yetzer Hara is activated primarily by the two Sasuri Avera, which is the eye and the heart. The eyes and the hearts. And we also learned how the mouth is connected to all of this, our diburim, and the strange koach that can take over a person even by saying things that are inappropriate. Like the Gemara tells us at the time of Rachav, whoever would say her name would be physically affected by just saying the name. So far we've spoken about these three levels of the eye, the heart, the mouth. But we haven't gotten anywhere near that Metzias that's called the Shar Hanun that we're in right now. Even though all of these are strong of their own. So in the middle of page Shin Ayin, Darchei Darchei Yosef Ayin Roya Mitzad HaTikun. Now we've been talking a lot for the past couple of weeks about the eyes. And the Ayin Roya Mitzad HaTikun, when the eye is functioning in its best way, Ayin Roya Ba'ofen Shel Einecha L'Noichach Yabitu. Einecha L'Nochach Yabitu. Those are words that you might remember from the bracha that we give those who are zocheh to have children. That we're zocheh to give our children, our grandchildren, Erev Yom Kippur. From the pasuk, we say to the children, Einecha, we give a bracha, Einecha L'Nochach Yabitu. It means that your eyes should always be able to see clearly what's in front of them. L'Nochach. Nochach, what's facing, what's in front. You should see things in a straight way and to look forward. It's an interesting bracha. V'tzuras hariyah shel adam hi ba'arach misha. And the way that the eyes function, a person, and you feel this most when you're driving. I mean, you better be feeling it, that the eyes are not distracted, looking all over the place, and you're careful that the eyes are ba'arach misha, on a straight path, looking forward. Yosha, alrei teva ha'ayin, but it is the nature of the eye. Teva ayin, milvad ma shehi yichol leros yashar. Hashem created the eye in such a way that besides that it's able to see something that's in front of it, looking forward, he yichol mikach hazazas ha'yishonim leros gam ma shekar b'tzdadim shel adam. That by moving around the pupils, you're able to see, even if your head is facing forward, you're able to have a little bit peripheral vision. You're able to see a little bit, to some degree. You're able to see on the side. Hashem made the eye in such a way. He created this world, and we're going to talk about the Mesil Shasharm on the next page. Hashem has created the world in such a way of Bechir Chavshis. So it would be a lot easier in many ways if we were only able to see. But the eyes have this ability to see things peripherally. And Rav Schwartz explains that the shurish, the root of the kilkul of our eyesight, of ruining our way of looking at things, is that our eyes stray around. That the eyes are distracted. There are sideshows going on. And instead of living a life of enecha or enayach, enecha l'nochach yabitu, the eyes are distracted and are curious to see what's going on. Shenitiyosov shel adam heim liros l'tzdadim. The nitiyah of a person is to try to see things on the side while you're looking forward, but to try to see things that are going on the side. That's a problem. This is a koch that Hashem created in the eye. The tikkun of the eye is yosher, just to be focused. To be focused, that's the tikkun of the eye. Einayach or einecha l'nochach yabitu. Orach misha. Mitzad HaKilkul, mitzad the kilkul of the eye, the downfall of the eye, is hiroa ba'ofen shel tzdadim, is to be looking in other places, to try to see things that are going on. Shizo ha'yetzahar, that's a tremendous yetzahar. That's the yetzahar. Shnim tzabayim, that Hashem created in the eye. This ability to look at things on the side. While facing forward, but really to be trying to see stuff on the side. So the Yetzirah is sholeit. That's where the Yetzirah has tremendous control over a person, to draw one to looking at things in such a way from the side. So far, what we've learned is that a person can look at something panim, straight, yosher, or l'tzadim, or the side. But the eyes cannot see anything behind. You can't see anything behind you, only front and side. Page Shin Ayin Aleph. The human eye cannot see such a thing from behind. Omnam einei haneshama roim ben masha nimtza bepanim ben masha nimtza ba'achor. Of course, it's not only the physical eye, but the eye that's in the person's mind. A person can go with his internal vision, and he can look backwards, he can look towards the future. There's no limitation when it comes to the ruchnistika ayin. There a person can see forwards and backwards. Ben mashanim tzabachar misham ze mishtal shagam le'eni hasechel shemichem lahabit mipanim v'achar shakol davar v'davar. So with the eni hasechel, that's called in this form the eni hasechel, which is a very, very, we use in the most important. A lot of our amunah has to do with that, with using our mind's eye to be at Har Sinai, to using the mind's eye to be in the Beis HaMikdash, and so on. Much of our Avodas Hashem depends upon the mind's eye, which is able to see things from different directions, even backwards, and to be able to have certain chizik by looking into the past and seeing, and so on. However, when it comes to physical eyes, but the physical eyes can only see forward or sideways. Therefore, as far as the Yetzer Hara is concerned, the regular, normal Yetzer Hara of a person is the eyes and their limited vision, and of course, hapeh, the mouth. Shemitzad hapanim shel adam bilvad. Shorish harahu ba'ayin ra, u'ba'archav Yosef says mishtal shel mipera, as we spoke about last week. Shezel koach harashim tzavepeh, the koach hara that's found in the mouth. Avalo mitzad ha'achor. But the eyes and the mouth, it's a koach of the face, of the panim, not of the back. Aval ba'omek, the middle of Shinayin Aleph. But the truth is that ba'omek is a very, very big yesod, and he's getting to the Shar HaNun. Aval ba'omek yoyser, muvur b'divrei Rabbi Nachman Breslov. We see that Rabbi Nachman spoke about this. Sheme'ein ma shematzina b'tzad ha'kedusha. Ofen shel afagav di'ihu lo chazi. Mazle chazi. The Gemara tells us that there is such a thing. The Gemara is talking about, say for Daniel, something over there, we're not going into it now. But afagav di'ihu lo chazi. That even though the person himself, ihu lo chazi, even though you can't see this with your eyes, but mazle chazi, but your mazel is able to see it. Your mazel means your neshama, the higher part of you is able to see. Ihu lo chazi, but mazle chazi, she'adam chash gam davish nimitzah me'achayrav. And in that world of ihu lo chazi, but mazle chazi, that you could sense them, you could feel something, with this koach, a person is able to see even backwards. Shekor charash mefates adam, ukvar lo nimtza rak bepanim u'betzadim, el mefata oiso gam mitzad ha'achor. So there's a certain koach in a person that is seducing him, that's drawing him and pulling him, not only to the side, forward and to the side, but behind. That if there's something that's inappropriate, a devar erva, something that's arais, something that's not at all appropriate, mitzad achor, and it's behind you, ha'adam chash sheyesh adav. The person's able to feel that there's something there. And there's some energy, some magnet that's pulling the person to turn around, to see something that's not even in front or on the side. There's a sense, there's a feeling that just like you have in Kedusha, the Iyul Chazli, but the Mazel, but the Neshama is able to see something, so too in Tumah, there is such a thing where a person senses there's a chush, that there's this thing that's behind.
The mind's eye.
This is different. There's not exactly the mind's eye. It's something else. It's a hergish. It's a ruchnis dike. It's a certain sensitivity, a hergish that a person has. L'stakel b'meshanim shel ha'chayrav. That's pulling you to look at something behind you. It's not the mind's eye where you're just sitting or you're resting and your eyes are closed and you're imagining and thinking back. That's something else. Here, you're completely awake. You're walking. You look going forward, and you feel epis something, mashu nacharecha, a sense, a feeling, a hergish of something that's going on behind you, and you're curious. There's something that's pulling you to take a look. And even though it's not actually looking back, because you're facing forward. There's a subtle koach of the eye, this koach of ra, that's mitzad ha'achor, that's from the back. And this brings us to the beginning of Mesilas Yesharim. You'll see where he's going with this. He says, Ramchal says, Ad shenimtzeis hamilchama el ha'odam ponim va'achor. At the very beginning of Mesilas Yesharim, the Ramchal says that a person lives in this world in a state of war, and there's a milchama, and this milchama, Ad shenimtzeis hamilchama el ha'odam ponim va'achor. Now, I'm sure that any soldier would tell you that it's not just a matter of looking forward when he's on the battlefield. One of the most important chushim of a soldier is that chush of some strange koach that a person has to sense that there's something behind. And here, the curiosity of the soldier can save his life and can save many other people's lives. And the Ramchal says, because the milchama of life, and he wasn't talking about a physical war, the milchama, the war over our neshamas, the Ramchal says it's el ha'adam ponim va'achor. The battlefield is ponim va'achor. It's ponim va'achor. Only like I remember like when we were growing up in the old movies, I always thought it was the dumbest way they used to fight. You remember? Like they had like the British against the Americans or something, and they have some guy like playing a niggin. And like I always wondered, how do you get to be in the first row? It was like, it was the worst row, right? You know what I'm talking about? And they just like go, they're all marching, and then they start like shooting. Well, when it was with the swords, they start taking out the things, and then. So it's like, I'm sure all the Jews like were in the back. There's no way that like Yankel was like, what am I doing? Like crazy? You have to find out a way how to get like in school, right? Like, or class, are you going anywhere? There are guys and girls. The guys are always in the back, right? I'm not going in the front. It's dangerous. So in the old days, they would fight in such a way. You can always wonder. But then what happened then when they had to fight against the Indians? It was terrible. Why? Because the Indians didn't go for this Irish guy, so they would go climbing behind on a mountain. They would go, like you imagine they're watching all the Americans and like everybody's just going like this, marching to each other, and like the Indians, what is this Chelm? And the Indians are all going like around on mountains and behind with arrows on trees, and it's a different kind of a milchama. The milchama is not just face to face. Like there wasn't one person in any of those movies that ever like snuck up behind and started shooting people from the back. And that's considered in the history of warfare like a huge Einfall. There was this great discovery that like we got to try to do something different here, guys. It's just not working out for both sides. It's not working out. We got to do something different. So then they began to have like a different kind of. I once read about this in a book when I was a kid, like how they changed. This is like all of a sudden, like they had a shiur, like the Vilna Gaon came and said, "Listen, Chaburah, it's a lot of kacha. You got to try to hide." But isn't the same thing happening now? Jews are expected to tell the enemy where we're coming. Maybe it's such a thing. That ended a long time ago when you knew where your enemy was. But Jews have to do that now. Jews are supposed to fight in the old-fashioned way. You have to hand out leaflets, send text messages. We're coming. Everybody ready? That's what we have to fight. Only Jews have to fight in such a way. But the Ramchal says the war is all around. You can't just. The war is not just upon him. It's everywhere. She could say, wait, 1 second. Say to Ramchal, Rabbi, I understand that I'm in the office and there's some pretty girl sitting across over there. I understand it. It's a problem. I got to put my eyes down. But now you're telling me there's also a taiva from behind me? I had this beautiful Jew it was here last week. It was a Chassidish Yid. And after the shiur, he wanted to ask me something. It was so sweet, such an ehrlich person, the way he said it. I forgot, I want to tell this to my wife. I just was mentioning to one of the Chaverim we were talking a few minutes ago. And this ehrlich Yid said to me that he works in an office, and they're all from Chaver in the office. It's a very, very nice office. They're very nice people. And that he has like some kind of a supervisor, a lady, and she knows that that he doesn't look at her. She's fine. She's a firm lady, and he has to deal with her because it's his boss. And when she comes to talk to him, he puts his eyes down. He's an elchid. Puts his eyes down. He said to me, but this is what he said to me last week. This year, he said, but Rabbi, she wears this perfume. So he said, now I know you're telling us that we can close our eyes, but what do I do with my nose? So he said to me, and I wanted to hug the guy. I said, he said it's like she's very attractive. I saw her for a second, whatever, and she's attractive, and schmeckt us, and I go home and I still can smell it. It's not good for me. So he says, you have an eitzah for me? I said, I don't know, you got to bring your own spray. And like a milchama. Bring whatever, right guard or something. I don't know what it is. There's some guys that use, there are people here, they spray themselves. I have when I go home. I also, for men, you smell. There are men that use spritz also. I don't know. It's a new thing maybe. I don't know why men spritz themselves. But I come home, I know I have to always go and start with the soap, and especially on the Shabbos, it smells from I don't know, cologne. I get cologne, right? Men that use that. I don't mean to insult anybody. If you like to use that stuff, use it. I don't know why men would put on perfume, but there's such an Indian like that men use perfume. So, but this guy's telling me, he's an Elocha guy, and he's telling me that, so what do? I can't close my nose? I close my eyes. He said, I'm a trader. He said, I don't look at this lady at all. I saw her once for a second. She's a very pretty lady, and now I smell this. And he says, and it makes me a little bit, it's not good for me. So the Ramchal says the milchama is a milchama. See, here's a guy that's already winning the war of the eye. He's a real Chassidish Yid, and he's winning the war, and he keeps his eyes down. And he says, and still I have a problem. So Ramchal says, Aish is a milchama, and ha'adam panim v'achor. But we still didn't get the Sha'ar Nun is still worse than perfume. We didn't get to the Sha'ar Nun yet to understand what it is. Mitzad upon him, facing forward, you see what's in front of you. And you also can chap a little bit what's going on peripherally, on the side. And we also know that there's some sort of a chush that a person has this third eye, this chush of something that's going on behind you. Misayreres ba chusha pnimis, so they can chal by koyach hayetza shel hasakronis. And this third eye on the back, this eye is responsible for that which is called sakranut. Sakranut means curiosity. Because what you see that, and the taivas work in a very, very, this is how taivas work. You could have where there's something you see with your eyes and it's completely open and it's something which is not nice, it's totally inappropriate, and you see it and finished. But then you have something else that's called sakranis, curiosity, where, I'm sorry to talk in a prost way, but we have to be very open and honest, where there could be a person it could be like this woman in the office, who's dressed appropriately. She's a nice lady, she's a firm lady, and she's dressed appropriately. But then there's this other thing, an eye that's curious. Now, if the lady Chalila, if somebody looks at something, there's no clothing at all, that's the Soif Ma'isa. Das. Your eyes see it, and there's the Yetzirah, but that's it. But when there's Tefach Megula, Tvechayim, when there's a Tefach that's uncovered, or there's a Tefach that's covered, Tvechayim uncovered, there's some that's covered, some that's not covered, then that activates a different Koach that's called curiosity. It's a third eye. That's something else. That's something else. Koach hayetzer shel sakron is the koach hayetzer of what you can't see with your physical eye, but you know that it's there. And when you can't see something, and you know that it's there, you can become entirely mishiga. In certain ways, much worse than when you see it and it's finished.
Was?
Huh?
Was.
It's mo'ira, such a thing. Powerful koach hayetzer shel sakronis. There's a point b'meshen nimtzu me'acharav aydei mitzius hariyah. Bimkein. So Rav Schwartz just summarized. He says, Shloisha hashlavim shehuzku ad hashta, the three shlavim, stages, or layers that we've spoken about until now, hashlav harishon zarvi yikapshuta. The first is simply seeing something. Ayin roya. Hashlav hasheni zek she'odem maskid over befiv. Then we spoke about what the Gemara says about Rachav, that you could say something that's speaking about something, even though you don't see it, but talking about something that's not so nice, that could be Ma'ira the Yetzirah. Rachav miyad nikri, like the Gemara says about Rachav, saying the name of Rachav also can cause the powerful feeling of Yetzirah, even though you don't see her. Shlav hanosaf shenis bar hashta, and the third shlav that we just spoke about now is mikoch ha'achor. There is such a thing of a third eye that's not physical. Yesh l'odam higarus lahabit la'achor, that the person has this curiosity to look backwards. Now, looking backwards doesn't only mean backwards. It means looking at something that you can't see. Trying to see something that you can't see with your eyes. U'lestakel sham. Page 9 base. All of this, he says, that we spoke about until now, Zo shorosh koach hara shehaya b'seder yemos olam. All that we've spoken about until now is how the world has existed for thousands of years, from the beginning of time until very recently. That's how everything has been. These are the three levels. Hashorish l'irahu b'ayin ra. The shorish of ra is the ayin ra. And the eye has this ability to sort of extend itself. Mishtal shalot mipera, the mouth. Chaburah Yosef, what the Ramchal said, nimtses hamachama elav panim v'achor. This third eye and the milchama, the war, that a person is surrounded on all sides. To have this way of seeing things, amalchama mesgalas gam mitzad achor. Shtei hamadregas halalu shel panim v'achor mitzad hara, magbil l'shorish hamadregas hapnimis mitzad hagedusha hamuvras b'divrei Chazal. Yesh ofen shel chibur shel panim v'panim, yesh omek shegam ha'achor yesh l'madrega shel panim b'midas ma. V'zeh hashorish shegam mitzad hara shayach sheyeh lo shlita mitzad mitzuyos ha'achor. Now, we've spoken about this many times over the years, that those who learn the Svarim are familiar with these terms, When the Torah was given, it was given in the way of panim b'panim, dibra Hashem imachem. There's a way to have a relationship that's called panim b'panim. And in Kabbalah and how the worlds are set up and the shtalshlos of all of creation, there's something that's called face to face. When Hashem is facing and we're facing Him, there's something that's called panim b'panim. And then there's something that's called panim el achor or achor b'achor. You remember that when Adam and Chava were created, they were created, the Chazal tell us, as one creature that was achor b'achor. Right? They were attached back to back. Du partzufim. They couldn't see each other. They were attached in such a way that's called achor ba'achor. So that mitzias, until they were cut in half, what's the cutting in half? You remember what's that called? The nesira. And by the nesira, by the cutting in half, then they were able to have the chiyur chavshis, and they were able to see each other, so they were able to relate to each other in a way that's called panim b'panim. But at the same time, they were able to have all kinds of yetzaros. If it would have been achor ba'achor, then nobody would have been able to cheat on his wife because the wife goes with you everywhere. If it would have been kept like that. So the Nesira created unbelievable potential, l'toiv, because now you can see your wife and you could look at her panim b'panim. Same way, the neshama before it came down into this world, the neshama was with Hashem in such a way that's achor ba'achor. When we left Mitzrayim, there were all kinds of miracles, right? So it says in Pasuk, Zachart la chesed nurayich, lechtech what? Acharai b'midbar. Lechtech acharai b'midbar. So Kushan Samagis only says that the midbar was a madrega of acharai, achor. Why? Because he said that we were living through such unbelievable miracles that you didn't have to, there was no real bechira. When we left Mitzrayim, it's called lechtech acharai. The real chachma is being able to look for Hashem when there are a million other choices. The same way with the husband and wife. When you're attached in such a way that's called acharai, lechtech acharai, it's not such a chachma, because you're one chavtza. What's the chachma? So there's no temptation to look anywhere else. And at the same time, there's no real bechira to have a relationship that's meaningful and that's deep, because you really can't see each other eye to eye. So when we were in the midbar, the Kushan Samagid explains that's called lechtech acharai b'midbar. Everything was so clear and so open. So he says that's not the tachlis. Just like when Adam and Chava were one mitzias, just like the neshama with Hashem is one mitzias and Shemayim, everything is clear. So for that, Hashem didn't have to create a human being. So the neshama being sent down into this world is called the nesira, the sewing in half. Our neshamas, like who we are now, the neshama that's in the guf was cut from the neshama that's in Shemayim. Each one of us, the main part of who we are, the neshama is in Shemayim. But there was a sewing that took place, and then the neshama is sent into this world. And even though this world is crazy because there's a milchama on all sides, and you can look at it, you can look all over the place and go out of your mind. You have to make a choice to look at that, to look at things in a way that those things in life that you should be looking at, to look at panim b'panim. But you make the choice to turn around and to look at it, not that Hashem forces you to look at it. You make that choice. So in Kedusha, there are relationships that are called panim b'panim, or when you have panim b'achor, means that the wife is trying to have this deep, meaningful relationship, and the husband's on his phone the whole time, or vice versa. That's called panim b'achor. She's trying to make eye contact, but he's not, or the other way. Then you could have achor b'achor. Neither of them are looking at each other. The tachlis is that you're not forced to be in a relationship; you choose a relationship. But once you've made that choice, you have a connection that's called panim b'panim. So that's what Hashem says. Panim b'panim li b'Hashem yimachem. When we were at Har Sinai, I spoke to you panim b'panim. What happened to you? What happened to you? Like the Navi Yirmiyahu says, the lashon is panisai elai oref v'lo panim. Hashem said that somewhere along the way you turned your back to me. V'lo panim, you're not facing me anymore. You're not facing me anymore. You turned your back to me. So we see that in Kedusha, there's a relationship that's called panim b'panim. Very strong. It's the strongest relationship. panim b'panim. And you have the weakest is achor ba'achor. So that's in Kedusha, there is such a mitzias of panim and achor. And in Tum, there is also such a thing, these two madregas. And he says, Zah Shorish, Shagam mitzad hara, Shach shiyeh lo shlita mitzad mitzias achor. There is such a thing in Ra as there being this koch of achor. It says in Pasuk, achor v'kedem tzaratan. Hashem, you created me forward and backward. Achor v'kedem tzaratan. But we still haven't gotten to the pneumius of what this is, this koch of achor. Kol zahiyot ad dar basra. All that we've learned until now is the way the world was until we came into the world, until our time. But there's another shlav, the final shlav before Mashiach comes. There's the big war before Mashiach comes. This is a milchama that's taking place in a different way. Just like you have in Gashmias, that there's something, I really don't know the pratim of how it works, but there's something that's called like cyber war, right? There's a lot of the milchamas that are being fought where nobody's physically on a battlefield. There are milchamas that are being fought on computers. Anybody can explain what that means exactly? I don't know what that is, cyber war. I heard such a lashon, I don't know exactly what that is, but they have to...
They can go in and interrupt your activity, steal information, and steal money, do everything. They basically can come in and take
So you
over.
could bring down a whole country like that.
Yeah. Power grid, everything.
Through the computer, you could shut down their electricity.
Yeah.
Security systems,
everything.
So you could
kill
millions of people.
Yeah, they have a whole thing where they ransom. They go into systems with companies, and then they ransom for them to release whatever they took over. The companies pay that.
And nobody sees anybody, nobody touches anybody.
No.
Everything is electronic.
Yeah. You even get paid electronically.
This is Jay's side hustle. Side hustle.
We in our
It's only the
business,
side.
our whole business is digital, and we have to have special insurance for any kind of stealing of information. Anybody coming into our system, you have to pay that insurance policy, because if you ever have to make a claim like that, you have to have special insurance for it.
required for a lot of work with a lot of people.
Yeah. I can't work with any of the companies over without having that policy.
Look, my wife was just telling me last night that she was talking on the phone with an old friend, and about a certain this friend of hers has something with a piano or something that she wanted to know if we know anybody that she wants to get rid of her piano. And she wants to know about anybody, if my wife knows somebody, any of the kids that they would like to have. Something like that, the two friends were talking. My wife says that 15 minutes later on the phone, somebody puts on an ad about piano mover. Came on the phone. That means there's somebody that's listening to, the computer that's listening to, what?
Ein Roa Ozen Shamas.
It means someone's listening to your phone all the time.
Happens all the time.
Not a person.
No.
Algorithm.
It's all systems. It's all systems.
They pick up on what you put into your phone. They pick up, and then you will suddenly get bombarded.
Right.
It could be phony. In other words,
I understand. So it means you're having an argument with your wife, and you get something that says, "Need a therapist." That's what this is all going. Okay, so that's a pachad mamish that never was in the history of the world. Such an Indian. So now we're just going to get ready to enter into the Shar Hanun. This is something that's going on that is a Mashiach. We'll see that it has to do with the Irish Mashiach, it has to do with the Arabal Shem Tov and the Irish Mashiach. That there's such an Indian that's now in the world that was Misgala, that Hashem was Megala at the end of time. We'll just get started just for a second, and we'll continue next week. L'tzarech havanas hadvarim nakdim reishis kol levaris hayachas shema medregas hazman shel kol sedi yimais ha'olam leman medregas hazman shlach v'siyom. First, we need to understand the generation, the time that we're living in, the difference between our time and all of history until our time. We're now living in Achas Yom, the end of time. What's the difference between the end of time and time? Shazam Madregas Dor Didon, our generation, Dor Basra, the last generation. Nechade. Let's sharpen this. Yesh Boire V'yesh Nevroim. There's the Creator, and there's all that He created. Ha'ifin Shabbat Kol HaNevroim. So there are basically 4 divisions of creation in this world. There's Domem, the inanimate, rocks and stuff. And there's Tzomech, plants. Chai, living creatures, animals, and so on. Medaber, human being. And a Pneumius, there's a Yisrael, like Rabbi says, a Yid. But these are the Madregas of creation. Nivruhu B'tzuras Adam. And those who learn this from know, and we've spoken about this a lot over the years also, that everything was created, everything exists according to this Tzuras Adam, the Tzura of man. All of creation was made based upon the highest Madrega of creation, which is Adam, which is man. Therefore, by the creation of man, it says man was created male and female. And this creature, so we just talked about a minute ago, about man and woman, Adam and Chava, male and female, was created together, and that creation is called Adam. And therefore everything exists in this world, male and female. Male and female. I remember when I was, there was some guy that came to do some work in the house many, many years ago, like a plumber or something, and he said, there was something with the pipe. He said, do you have the female with a pipe? And I thought there was something I missed growing up. I said, excuse me? He said, there's a male and there's a female. So I said, I think this guy's giving me a schmooze now. I said, okay. What? I know there's a male and female. He said, no. And they showed me like how it works with the pipes. There's a zoch and a kaven. So even in the world of doimim, you understand? There's a zoch and a kaven. I got scared. Like, what's this guy? There's a zoch and a kaven. Even in plumbing, there's a zoch and a kaven. Everything exists in such a way that's called zoch and a kaven. V'yikashmodim. V'barchav Yosef Nemal HaTorah. Zeh Sefer told us other. Shazo haistakel baraisa, ubimene shtalshla kol tzuras abriya. So when the Hashem created man, He said Zach in the Keva. Everybody knows that all of creation is from the Torah. The Torah says Zach in the Keva bar means everything that exists, everything that was created in such a way. That's why Parshas Bereshis has in it all of the diagrams of blueprints of everything that's going to be. It's all Parshas Bereshis. Shezeb bar alma. And the Brias Ha'olam is Tzuras Ha'adam, man. And when you learn the Kabbalah from, you see everything is like that. The whole Bria is in such a way, the whole style is just the right arm, the left arm, and so on and so forth. Everything is Tzuras Ha'adam, is like Kaimas Ha'adam. Vimkein, Mitzad HaNevroim, Geder Tzuras HaNevroim, Hibe Tzuras Adam. Therefore, as far as all of creation, everything is Tzuras Adam. Avalabari is Baruch Shemo, however, okay, that's as far as all nivroim, all that was created. All nivroim are laid out in Torah, Suras Adam, everything is created according to that plan. But then you have the Boire, the Creator. We don't even the words or Ein Sof is not Hashem. We're not talking about Hashem Himself. The infinite light of Hashem. It's or Ein Sof. Lashon Rabbeinu, as the Lashon was used by the Chachamim. Ze Gilui ha'Ein Sof Baruch Hu. The Boire, the Gilui of the Creator is Ein Sof, is infinite. Infinite. Lefizeh, let's just do this little paragraph. Lefizeh, page Shenayim. You don't have it? Ah, okay, but the pages you have. You don't have Shenayim Gimel? Yeah? Okay. So let's just do the sentence and we'll catch up. Okay, Lefizeh, Mitzad Madregas as Mashal Sedi Ma'asaylam. We'll review it next week also. As far as all of history until now, how did it work? So Chazal say that when Adam Rishon was created, he was able to see from one end of the world to the other end of the world, right? He was able to see Misayfer Adam Bat Seifer. And the baby inside the mother, there's a Ned Dol Garosh, the baby's able to see Misayfer Bat Seifer. And until now, everything was in such a way. Adam Seifer Misayfer Adam Bat Seifer. Daika Zeo or Shabor HaKadosh Baruch Hu B'Yam Rishon. But that's the light that Hashem created. It's part of creation. Klaimer, ze or shebamedrege shel gili atzuras adam, nachin adam tzayfer urak misayfer lemat tzayfer the sulo. Therefore, it's limited. It's pretty good because there is such a thing that man, in his ideal state, when he was created, was able to see misayfer lemat tzayfer. He was able to see from whatever, from here to Australia or someplace. He was able to see misayfer lemat tzayfer. That was how man existed, because Hashem created this or of men of the nivra that can see. But not more than that. However, and this is where we'll stop. However, at the end of time, Chazal tell us, and we see in Tanakh, that before Mashiach comes, there's going to be a hisnoitzitzuz. Hashem is going to reveal sparks, hisnoitzitzuz, a preview of some sort of Oirei Shel Mashiach, the light of the end of time. And there's a certain way of seeing things that comes from a higher place than creation itself. It's limited to Misayfer and Batzayfer, where Oirei Shel Mashiach, where HaKadosh Baruch Hu is being Megala and Or, a taste of the infinite light of Hashem Yisbarach Himself, where man's way of seeing things before Mashiach comes is no longer limited to Misayfer and Batzayfer. Now, what that means exactly, that's not limited to Misayfer and Batzayfer, and how does that relate to Shar HaNun? And then if we'll have time, we'll talk about Purim, because the whole opinion of Purim is Haman making a tree, Eitz Chamishim Amma. Why did he make this tree 50 Ammas high? Because Haman is the world of Amalek, and Amalek is the site of the Shar HaNun, and therefore his avodah, the avodah of Amalek, of Haman, was to come to that place of an Eitz Gavoa Chamishim Am, an Eitz Gavoa Chamishim Am, because Amalek's koch is to reach into the place of Mamish in Tumah. That's what we're in right now, of Tumah, of a koch of Ein Sof, in Tumah, Ein Sof, on a Shiur, without a Shiur. And in Kedusha, the only way to fight against that is with tapping into the koiches of the light of Torah that preceded the creation of this world, which is the Or of Pnimis HaTorah, which is what we're going to be continuing with Mitchell next week. Meantime, watch what you're smelling.